Hi, I'm Alicia Klein, a prevention specialist with the Council on Chemical Abuse, and welcome to Clear and Present Danger, a two-part interactive program that discusses medication safety, the connection between an addiction to prescription pain medicine and heroin, the why and how addiction develops, and some healthy decision-making skills. So welcome to part one, medication safety. Today we will discuss prescription drugs, the misuse of medication, medication safety, some alternatives to misusing, and some healthy decision-making skills. So part one comes with a handout. We're going to play a game. You could print out the handout or use it on your computer, and if you don't have one, that's fine too. Grab a piece of paper and a pencil and get ready to play. So if you are watching this solo, you'll be playing against yourself. But if you're watching it in a classroom with other students, all right, you will, I guess, compete with each other. Because as we go along, I want you to record your answers on the handout or on your piece of paper. I want you to give yourself 1 point for each correct answer you get, and the most points wins. What are you going to win? Well, we're playing for pride and not prize. Sorry. So let's find out who's the smartest person in the room. We're going to start by playing a game called Can You Tell the Difference Between Medicine and Candy? So I want you to tell me which one is the pill, A or B. That's right. A is a chewable tum, and the other one was sweet and sour, candy. All right, which one is the pill, A or B? Correct, B. B was acetaminophen, which is Tylenol, and A was jelly beans. Now this one's a little different. I want you to tell me which one is the juice box. Which one has apple juice in it, A or B? That's right, B was the juice box, and A was actually e-liquid or e-juice, the chemical or the liquid that goes in a vape pen. Okay, which one is the pill, or A or B? Which one has medicine in it, A or B? That's right, B. B actually looks like bubble gum, right? But it's actually a chewable tum. And A was the bubble gum. It's like bazooka gum. Do you remember bazooka gum? They still make that. Little cartoon inside. All right. Oh, and now which one is the gummy vitamin? Which one do you think is the vitamin? A or B? That's right. A is the vitamin. B is regular gummy bears. And here's our last one. Which one is the pill? A or B? Pretty easy. A, right? A was Motrin and B was the Tic Tacs. And these were rather simple, but the idea was to show you the similarity between medicine and candy. A lot of them looked almost exactly alike. And we do this for a couple of reasons. One, a lot of times medicine is manufactured to taste like candy. And why do they do that? Absolutely, because kids need to take their medicine. And who wants to take gross medicine? So they make it flavored, they make it seem like candy, especially things like cough drops and vitamins. And they're medicine, and we're not supposed to take them like candy, right? Even though they're designed to be pleasing for children to take, we have to be mindful of the fact that it's not candy and they're pills, and we have to take them as directed. Also, it's good to be mindful of the fact that you should never take anything from anybody that you do not know. As you get older, maybe go to parties. A lot of times, illegal street drugs look very similar to candy, so you may not, be getting what it is that you think, okay? So our first question number 1, is what is the symbol Rx? What does that stand for? A, the abbreviation for prescription medication, B, Latin for physician, or C, the symbol for pharmacy? And the correct answer is A, the abbreviation for medication. So you're going to see this Rx a lot of times at the pharmacy, okay? But Rx stands for prescription. all right? And the prescriptions we get from our doctor. They're medications that are prescribed to us from a doctor. All right, so what information is found on a prescription pad? So on the handout, you have a little section there that you can write down information that you believe comes on the prescription pad, or you can write it down on a piece of paper. A prescription is a legal, federal, legal document, right? And there's certain information that needs to be on that prescription in order for the pharmacy to fill it for you. So the information that must be on there is obviously the doctor's information, your name, your date of birth, your address, the date, the medicine, and the directions for taking it. The doctor must sign it, and usually how many refills. So if you got any of that information, give yourself a couple of points, right? Now, your next question, true or false? It is illegal to share prescriptions with others. Yes, that is true, okay? Again, it is a federal legal document, and by law, the only person permitted to take the medication is that person who the doctor prescribed the medication specifically for, right? It is illegal to share your medicine with others. There's thousands of medications. People take medications for, heart disease, diabetes, arthritis. But when we talk about misusing, you can misuse any prescription medication. But the most widely abused prescription drugs are your stimulants, your depressants, and your benzodiazepines. So we're going to play a little matching game to kind of learn about these three prescription drugs. We'll go through these together, and if you get it right, you can just draw a line to the from column A to column B. And if you keep track of the ones you get right and give yourself a point for each one you get right here. All right, so let's start at the top. Medications people misuse. The answer to that is any medication, right? Any medication can be misused. So what do you think? Xanax is an example of what? It is an example of a prescription benzodiazepine. We'll talk about that in a minute. So medications to treat anxiety are called, that's right, benzodiazepines, right? So benzodiazepines are mental health medications, and what they do, they were originally used for people who have seizure disorders or epilepsy. And what they do is they kind of slow down all that electricity going on in the brain. So they're also used then to treat anxiety disorders, sometimes schizophrenia, right? It slows down a lot of that extra electricity that is going on in the brain, right? Benzodiazepines they are addictive if misused. You have to be very mindful when you take benzos. You just can't stop taking them, right? It's very important to follow the doctor's instructions because people can withdraw, and it is one of the only drugs that you can withdraw and die from. Alcohol is another one. When people withdraw from alcohol, they can die. You can have a grand mal seizure and die, right? So it's very important that these mental health meds are taken as prescribed by the doctor, that you follow directions. All right, Adderall. Adderall is an example of what? A prescription stimulant, okay? Medication bought without a prescription is known as, that's a pretty easy one, an over-the-counter medication, right? We don't need a prescription. Anybody can buy them. It's okay to share them, like Tylenol and things like that. You can, share them amongst your family and things like that. All right, next, Percocet. Percocet is an example of a prescription pain reliever, okay? And a drug that increases the way the body functions is called a stimulant, right? So stimulants increase heart rate, respiration. When we talk about, when we say, Adderall, Ritalin, those are medications that kids take for ADHD, okay? Stimulants are increasing the way the body is functioning. We talk, another legal stimulant would be like caffeine is a stimulant. An illegal stimulant would be like cocaine, all right? Now, a drug that decreases the way the body functions is a depressant, right? Stimulant increases and a depressant decreases. So your depressants are your prescription pain medicine, okay? Prescription pain medicines are depressants. They're slowing down the breathing, the respiration, and the brain activity. Everything is slowing down, right? And lastly, Tylenol is then an example of over-the-counter medication. Very good. All right, so your next question is, what is prescription misuse? Oh, are you keeping track of your points? All right. A, taking a prescription only to get high, using a prescription in a way not instructed by the doctor, or taking more than one medication at a time. And the correct answer is B, right? Taking a prescription in a way not intended by the doctor. So it could be taking it to get high. It could be if you're taking more than one meds, but it's okay to take different prescriptions as long as they're prescribed to you. But when we talk about misuse, the definition then is just taking it in a way not prescribed by the doctor. So when we talk about misuse, it's regardless of our intentions, because many times, people are not intending to, do wrong or do harm to other people. Prescriptions can be expensive, and families sometimes, will share medications, or people are just trying to help other people out. So we're not always intending to do wrong, right? It's considered misuse anytime we share medicine with somebody else, or we use it for a different reason, or when we don't need one, if we're taking one that's not prescribed to us. Or sometimes if we think the medicine's not working, or we want it to work faster, we may take a higher dose, right? That is all considered to be misuse. So what do you think is the percentage of Berks County teens that misused an opioid prescription medication? So an opioid are prescription pain medicines, right? Your depressants. That's what they are labeled as. And in part 2, we'll go into that in a little bit more detail. But so what percentage of Berks County teens misused a prescription medication? A pain medicine, prescription pain medicine. Do we think it's 23%, 4.2%, or 35%? The correct answer, yes, is B, 4.2%. Now let's talk about the United States. How many Americans 12 years and older misused a prescription in the past year? 2 million, 7 million, or 18 million? And the correct answer is 18 million people misused their prescriptions in the past year. So there's lots of consequences to misusing prescription drugs. If we're focusing then on teenagers specifically for this program, there's conflicts, with friends, family, people, obviously they can get ill or death, addiction, you can get failing grades, trouble with the police, school, parents, and then arrest. So next question, misusing prescription drugs can result in improved grades, addiction, more friends. Yes, the correct answer is B, addiction. Addiction is a choice, curable, or a brain disease. That's correct. C, addiction is a brain disease, right? Many people think that addiction is a choice, right? But what we mean by that when people say, there's no choice when somebody has an addiction, and that's once the addiction develops. Yes, there's many choices that people make. And that's why I have a job, to try and help not just kids, but even adults or people in my community to make healthier decisions for their life in order to avoid developing an addiction. So addiction is avoidable. It's 100% avoidable. We don't use, right? But once that addiction develops, right, that drug hijacks the brain. It makes that person think that they need that drug in order to live. So it comes about survival for that person, and it takes away their choice, okay? The drug tricks that brain into thinking that they need it. And there is no cure for an addiction. Once somebody develops an addiction, there's no magical treatment for addiction, right? That is something that somebody has to work on the rest of their life, their entire life. And it is a chronic disease, which means it gets worse over time if left untreated, and people can die from it. Right, so let's talk about the why addiction develops. So anytime we feel pleasure, the brain releases a chemical called, correct, dopamine, right? So dopamine is that chemical in our brain that says, oh, this feels good. And then it also tells you to do what? Yes, to do more, okay? It's all about the natural rewards in our life, right? That's what keeps us, if we look at all these things, right? When we see puppies or babies, okay, or dancing, all right, anything that brings us joy and pleasure in our natural life. However, drugs of abuse, whether it's pot or alcohol or pain medicine, okay, they also release dopamine, but in large quantities, more quantity than the brain needs, okay? Now, in part two, we'll delve into, how it develops. It's not like somebody uses a drug one time and they wake up addicted. No, right? It's going to be something that will happen over time. Okay. But depending on how, a person reacts when they use the first time, it could increase the likelihood that they may use again. Okay. Because that's what dopamine does. But everybody experiences things differently. No two people are going to have the exact same experience, right? But it's all about these dopamine levels. So dopamine, right, is the reason why addiction can develop for a person, right? And not everybody becomes addicted. And again, it's all because no two people are going to experience, will have the exact same experience. Right, so let's talk about then how we can keep ourselves safe. How can we reduce the risk of developing an addiction to our pain medicine or any other type of medicine that a person may take, right? First of all, it's very important to follow the instructions, what the doctor prescribes to you, and follow those instructions. If the medicine's not working, right, we call the doctor, right? If the medicine is, making us sick, we call the doctor. We just don't stop taking it. That goes for stop taking medicine too. If you stop taking your medicine before, like if it says take, for 10 days and you take it for 5, an infection or something like that, it may come back, right? So we need to follow it, not just like not taking more, but making sure we're not taking less. So following the exact instructions. We want to make sure that we lock our medicine up or we dispose of it properly. And most importantly, we're not sharing medicine with other people. So why do you think it's dangerous to share prescription medications? A, everybody's body's different. B, it's expensive. C, the prescription could be used another time. And I mentioned this a bunch of times in the last few minutes, right? Obviously it's A, because everybody's body is different. Right? And just because it is a prescription medication does not make it safe for you if it's not yours, right? A lot of times we have this idea that, oh, it's a prescription, so it'll be safe for me. It's really only safe for the person it is prescribed to. First of all, the doctor, if you're taking something your doctor's not aware and you have a reaction to it or you're allergic to it, he may not know how to help you. Many times, many of us have been going to the same doctor since we're little. Those doctors, they know our history, they know who we are, they know what kind of meds may or may not work for us. Right, true or false? Misusing a prescription drug can lead to illegal substances. Yes, that is true. And part 2, we'll talk about how that all works. So why, even though we all know the dangers of using, we all know what could happen, right? We know that it may be illegal, especially to take pills that don't belong to us. Why do we do it? Why do teenagers do it, despite the fact that they may know? Okay. So just stop and think for a minute. Like, why do you think we do these things? And you can, make a list if you want, or write down one answer. So write down one answer, right? One reason why you think teenagers misuse their medication. And it could be that they're not just wanting to get high, right? Maybe they, got hurt and they want to heal faster. So maybe they may start misusing then. They may be taking more because they're in more pain and they want to get back to playing. And it could be that we're feeling stressed, right? I'm stressed and I can't get all my work done. So I may try and take some pills to help me stay awake. Or maybe, teens go to a party and they want to fit in, right? Um, so they take to, because of peer pressure, right? So there's lots of different reasons why, but a lot of times it has to do with that, wanting to fit in and not being different, or all the stressors that we have in our life, and everybody experiences stress, right? But we have to figure out those alternatives to using, right? And if I'm an athlete and I'm still not feeling well and I want to get better and I want to heal faster, you know, what else can I do? I can call my doctor. I can maybe go to more physical therapy. I can reach out for help. If I'm having trouble in school and I'm feeling stressed and I don't know what I'm doing, I can reach out for help and for tutors. Or if I'm feeling sad and angry and scared, I can reach out to maybe somebody at school that I trust, or my parents or my friends, right? We can talk about it. But we need to make sure we have alternatives to manage the everyday stresses of our life, whether it's, dancing or music or cat videos or exercising, being with friends and family. Every day you should be taking time for yourself, even if it's like 10 minutes out of your day to, decompress and think. And maybe it's just like to zone out, listen to some music, or take a little nap, or go for a walk, or exercise, right? If you do something for yourself every day, right, that is your time alone to kind of work through the day, or, work through what's going on in your life, then when things really get tough, especially as you get older, you are automatically going to go to that place that helps you relax. You will automatically do it, because the more we do something over and over again, our brain will make a connection. We make pathways in our brain, right? And the more you do something, then it's like second nature. You don't even think about it. Your brain automatically just goes there for you. Another way we want to prevent misuse, again, we want to store our medications properly. Make sure that if people come over to our house, they can't get to them. We want to dispose when we're done of them. We want to dispose of the medications properly. Share these messages with your family. Maybe before I started to work for Coca, I had no idea that I wasn't supposed to throw my medicine in the trash, or I should keep things locked up. And lastly, let's make sure, again, those alternatives to managing our stress. Because a lot of times, not even stress, it could be any emotion. A lot of times when people do not know how to cope and handle their emotions, whether it's, from happiness to sadness to anger, then we turn to unhealthy ways to cope, and to kind of forget not to cope, right? All right, here's our next question. What is the safest way to dispose of unused medication? A medication drop box, flush it down the toilet, and toss it in the trash. And yes, A, a medication drop box. You never want to throw medication away once it gets into a landfill or whatever. All that medication can kind of get back into the soil where we grow our food, and never flush it down the toilet. Once it goes into the water treatment plant, and if that treatment plant doesn't have the correct chemicals to remove certain drugs from the water, it just stays in there. It's recycled into our drinking and our, cooking, the things that we cook and drink with, the water we cook and drink with. So the safest way is a medication drop box, right? So they kind of look like a mailbox, and we can find them at any police station throughout Berks County. Unfortunately, most of them are closed in our current situation, right? So there is another way called a disposable bag, a medication disposable bag. And these bags, you can put the medication in and you kind of shake it up. I think it has charcoal in it or a little bit, and it'll disintegrate the medication in that bag, and then it can be thrown into the trash. You can get a disposal bag, and you can get lock boxes too. if you go to our website at cocaberks.org, and you can request a free lockbox or a free medication disposal bag. There's a way to send an email to somebody, and we will, send you one out. All right, lastly, let's talk about some healthy decision making, right? When you make a decision, we're going to use two parts of our brain, right? We're going to use the part of our brain where we feel emotion, and we're going to use the part of the brain that we make decisions with, right? So that emotion part of the brain is that midbrain, and then obviously the decision-making part of the brain is our frontal lobe, right? Now, when we're little, we make a lot of our decisions based on emotion, right? Can you think of a time you made a decision based purely on how you were feeling, right? Like purely maybe on anger or sadness, right? Where you just, something happened and you reacted. You didn't think, you just quickly reacted because of how you were feeling at that time. So it's sort of like a 2-year-old. A 2-year-old is at the store with their mom. They're in the middle of the Walmart, and mom says, they say, I want candy, I want candy. And mom says, no. What do? They throw a temper tantrum in the middle of the store, right? The older we get, right, the more we're able to use this frontal lobe, right? And so we all are kind of familiar with the fact that our brain does not stop. We used to think that the brain was fully developed at birth, right? And then scientists have figured out, no, right? Our brain develops as we develop. And then there was this school of thought that, well, it stopped growing at 18, right? It stopped developing at 18. But we now know that the brain does not become fully developed until we're in about our mid-20s. And the last part of the brain that is fully developed is this prefrontal lobe. So that's why as we get older, we are still, especially like when we're teenagers, we still may be acting a little impulsively. We still may be having a temper tantrum now or then. We may be taking more risk. We're still able to stop and think a little bit, but we're still kind of teetering on using our emotions. The older we get, the more we're able to stop and think and use our frontal lobe. Now, the most amazing aspect of this frontal lobe is that it helps you learn from past mistakes. This part of the brain allows you to reflect on the fact that, oh, the last time I did this, it didn't work out so well for me. So maybe I want to do something different. And that's how you learn, and that's how you grow, and that's how you make your frontal lobe grow stronger and even quicker, right? By training it to stop and think before making decisions, right? So it's something that I call the power of the pause, just stopping and maybe taking a quick breath, or stopping to really think about it, or just stopping and counting to 10, right? And practice this with everyday, even like little tiny decisions that you have to make throughout the day. If you just stop, take a pause, couple second pause, and then make a decision, right? The more you practice this, when it comes time that you have to make really hard decisions, your brain is automatically going, oh, I'm going to stop and I'm going to think about that, right? And it doesn't take but 2 or 3 seconds to, like, if somebody says, here, I don't know, you wanna drink this beer or have a vape or take a couple of pills, doesn't take 3 seconds to say, you know what? Yeah, that might not be such a good idea. And you can run through the things that, could possibly happen, right? And the more you do that, again, it will become second nature. Your brain will make a connection, make a pathway in your brain to automatically just stop and take a breath before making a decision. Okay, so we've come to the end of our presentation. So if you are playing alone, okay, just add up your points for me real quick. If you are in a classroom and everybody is playing along, then stop and add up your points. Okay, so we've come to the end of our presentation. Unfortunately, I'm not there live to answer any questions that you may have about the presentation, but you may always, either you or a teacher can reach out to me at akline, AKLINE, at cocaberks.org. and emailing me any questions you may have, and I will respond to you as quickly as I can. So if you're playing alone, just add up your points. If you're playing together in a classroom, you guys can kind of add up your points. There was a total of 32 points that you could have earned. So if you're playing by yourself, did you get them all right? If you're playing together in your classroom, remember, we're playing for pride, not prize. So I hope you had fun figuring out who the smartest person in the room was. All right, so that ends part 1. And please don't forget to watch part 2, where we will talk more about how addiction develops, specifically to prescription pain medicine, and see this crossover to heroin. Thank you.